Hi, Jess.
Hey, Elise.
How you doing today?
You know, I had a weird start to the morning, but I did a little meditation. I feel a lot better now, just having reclaimed some energy that I felt like I was spilling out towards the world and calling it back and just kind of recentering. I feel a lot better now. How
Yeah,
about you?
same. We did the meditation together, turned on some sound bowl music, and just breathed.
Breathe. Yeah. Took a deep breath. It's good to take a moment, especially at the start of the day, too. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have very intense dreams a lot of the time. So when I wake up, sometimes I feel like I'm literally being pulled back into my body,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, okay, I need a second before I have to go be a person and exist in society.
It's very frustrating when you have a dream so intense that you don't feel like you rested, and then
Hmm.
you wake up after being in your bed for 8, 9 hours, and you're just like, I'm exhausted. It
Yeah.
was kind of last night.
Yeah.
So, but we're here.
We're here, we're grounded, we're back, and I feel like this is almost a perfect segue into our discussion for the day, which is talking all about the soul.
What is a soul?
What is a soul? I think that there's a moment in everybody's life at some point. For some of us, it happens very soon or it happens a little later on. So there's a term called autoneosis.
Can you say that 3 times fast?
Autoneosis. Autoneosis, autoneosis. Autoneosis is this, I would say sudden, but this awareness of yourself. It's like hyper self awareness. And it's
Mm,
more about your awareness that you are existing in this world. So think about you existing as an entity in this time, in space, here on this planet. It's almost like your awareness of your existence in the greater sense of the universe. Like when you think about how big the universe is, when you think about how many planets, how many stars, how you just think about the vastness of everything around you and you're like, "Oh my god, I'm so small and so insignificant." Like that is how I would describe autoneosis. And I think that everybody at some point in life comes to this moment of just why do I exist?
right.
What am I? What is my existence? What does my existence mean? How am I an individual, especially as individual souls, all kind of collectively having the same experience?
I often think about all of the pieces of the puzzle that had to fall into place for me to exist. And I mean, I love ancestry and understanding where you come from to understand who you are. And truly, that it blows my mind every time I think about everything that had to happen. People who had to die in war,
Mm-hmm.
moves across the country people had to make. And that in itself is almost overwhelming. And then to get to the level you're talking about, where my existence in the world beyond just my birth is like, wow,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Oh, literally, I've had this discussion with my mom a couple times where we talk about how did you meet my dad? Like all these little things. And it's a cute story. My parents actually met at my aunt and uncle's wedding because my mom and my aunt were roommates in college.
Oh,
And then at the wedding, obviously my dad was best man, my dad's brother. So she kind of my aunt kind of played matchmaker, but there's so many other things where my mom had a long-term boyfriend before they broke up. I don't regret anything because it led me to having you, which is super sweet.
mm.
Thanks, mom. Love you. But but yeah, it's just the kind of these moments, and I think about that a lot with friends and a lot with life. It's all these little puzzle pieces that have to fall into place because if A didn't meet B and B didn't meet C, then we wouldn't get to point D, and then all the other possibilities that can stem from that.
it,
And
it's almost like, if we want to go back to the puzzle analogy, instead of buying a puzzle in a box with all the pieces, your whole life is just waiting to randomly find a puzzle piece in the grass,
Yeah.
in your bathroom, on the side of the road, in the grocery store. And imagine putting 1,000-piece puzzle together, waiting to randomly find the pieces.
Yeah. These little random moments that have you facing the fact of your existence. I remember my autoneosis moment. Do you remember when you kind of became hyper aware
I
of?
do. I lived in New York for almost 10 years. I went through a very, very bad breakup in March of 2020, which everyone remembers what happened in the world in 2020. And through the heartbreak of this breakup, through the heartbreak of what was happening in the world, I knew the only thing that would heal my state of being was time. But when you're quarantined up and you're not somewhere where you want to be, time moves slow. So the only way I could track time without going crazy was I started tracking the moon cycles. And I looked forward to looking at the moon almost every night with my sister. I
Mhm.
remember chasing the moon in Buffalo, New York, to try to spot the best place to see the super moon
Oh
because it was
yeah.
super close to the earth that one night. It was sometime in April of 2020. And through tracking the moon, I really tapped back into this ancestral idea of what life was like before clocks existed and
Mhm.
before, we were on a schedule of time.
Mhm.
I was living by the time that has always been there and forever will be our moon,
Yeah.
which changes every 28 days and it goes through its cycle. It's unwavering. And you know what? She'll help move time a little faster
Yeah.
because in time my heart did start to mend.
Good.
What about you?
Mine's a little darker.
He
um, I kind of had like an existential crisis moment. When I was 18, a friend passed away in a very traumatic way. And this was someone who I'd known since high school. Um, and passed away in a way that like it was just like one moment they were there and the next moment they were not. And it was shocking to me because I dealt with death before. Like we'd had deaths in the family and like older people in my life. Like I understood the concept of it, but to see someone my age just be gone, it was like a slap in the face.
yeah, it reminds us that
We're not invincible.
we're not invincible, we're not immortal,
Mm-hmm.
and that life is very
Yeah.
precious.
And it took me a minute with that grief to process what had happened, to understand it. But I remember very distinctly a few months after this happened, I was with my best friend sitting on a roof in Philly and we were like looking out at the sunset and we are just like staring and I saw this church and I was just like kind of like got like thought about the concept of heaven and I was like what do you think happens to us when we leave, like where do you think we go, do you believe in heaven, like, and my friend who is an atheist was like nope I think we're just worm food and I was like oh like that cannot be true. I cannot accept that. So it very much gave me the sense of well what do I believe, and it just gave me a lot to think about and a lot to think about my existence and how I want to show up in this world while I'm here, knowing that
Our time is not infinite.
our time is not infinite and we're
It's
here with a purpose and a reason.
it's very finite.
Yeah,
Gotta live.
gotta live.
Gotta
So
live. What do I always say? You're not here for a long time, but you gotta be here for a good time.
yeah, in the definition of a soul, Plato, Aristotle, they're all talking about existence back in ancient times. We've got Plato, who believed that the soul existed before the body, and he believed in reincarnation and metempsychosis.
Sure.
Sure. Aristotle believed that souls are what makes us, animals and plants, living things. So Aristotle believed that plants also were
I
sentient
picture
beings.
Aristotle's laboratory
Yeah.
or library just full of plants.
I really just see him as like the OG plant daddy. Like, yeah, Aristotle knew what was up. Uh, The Oxford Dictionary defines the soul as the spiritual or immaterial part of a human being or animal regarded as immortal.
Ooh.
Keywords immaterial and immortal. Cambridge Dictionary, the spiritual part of a person that some people believe continues to exist in some form after their body has died, or the part of a person that is not physical and experiences deep feelings and emotions.
Mm.
So, the principle of life, feeling, thought, actions in humans. I feel like feeling is the key word here because in science, they can't really scientifically define the soul. Kind of the same way we talked about there's no scientific way to prove the existence of God. There's no scientific way to prove the existence of the soul because science will take it into a neurological sense and try to explain that there's billions of neurons firing in your brain and causing the bodily functions in your body, and like, well, that is what makes a person a human in a biological sense. What I mean, as artists, I think this is like the artsy answer is like, what makes you feel? And again, they would probably say hormones and this and that, but like, what sparks that inspiration when we look at a piece of art that just moves us, or when we see a person that we love, or when we are out in nature and we're touching a tree, or I mean,
Science will always try to explain away everything, but science can't exactly explain magic,
that's true.
which is
Yeah.
almost what I would categorize everything you just said.
Yeah.
Being moved by something to the point of extreme emotion, from a painting, a musical piece, a dance
Mm-hmm.
number, to touching a tree
Mm-hmm.
and feeling this visceral connection
Yeah.
to what some would say is a sentient being. But I would say magic is real.
Yeah.
And science, try as they might, can't explain it.
They can't. And I think that again, there's mysteries in life that we experience that I think we're meant to experience as mysteries. We're not meant to have all the answers, but it's kind of fun to poke and prod and see what we can discover.
Mm-hmm.
So